So it's working fine, microphone? Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm very happy being here. I think Stefan mentioned digitalization is 70% about people, 30% about technology. And I think the last 2 years has been just the other way around, right? 70% technology, 30% people. So it's very nice to have people face to face and have the opportunity to talk in front of you. I don't mind talking into avatars, but I think it's much, much, much better. So before I start my presentation, I just would like to introduce very briefly about Emerson Automation Solutions. Well, we do automation solutions. We are present in the different world areas, and we had a significant footprint on the pharma industry. In terms of the solutions, we cover almost of the product life cycle, I mean, from the development up to the production. And we focus on this type of applications or solutions. We have these control devices. We have as well instrumentation, which is focused on single use. And as well, I added as well some specific reference to our technology on the reliability domain. And of course, we have systems and softwares. Maybe you're users, or you know about our DCS, Delta V, or MES systems, Syncade, RTMS solution, biology. And I may say that this is a domain where, well, in all of them, but particularly in these systems and software, it's a domain where we are continuously investing and expanding our portfolio in order to, and we do that in different ways. We do it organically. We do as well by acquisition of other companies, by equity investments. And you may have seen that lately we are increasing that portfolio, particularly on the digitalization domain, on digital solutions, but as well on the manufacturing automation management. So I will just start my presentation. I said I'm very happy to be here. I mean, really happy. But I don't know you, but I felt when I tried to put my suit on, I felt the degradation that the lockdown created into my body. And I was struggling to put my feet on. So with your assets, I think it may happen almost the same. I mean, when you buy an asset, it will perform optimally. It will be working fine, no issues. But at times, as time passes, as time buys, you will potentially have some degradation on that specific asset. And if you do nothing, basically, it will continue that degradation. And at the end of the day, it can create or it can end into an unplanned stoppage, which is something we want to avoid. Particularly, I think that the COVID-19 has shown us how it's important is to keep the uptime as much as possible in order to manufacture all the vaccines that is possible to manufacture. So I'm not bringing just, and it is important as well, I would like to highlight that as well, that it is not only about uptime or downtime. I think it's also about process quality and process control, assess quality, and patient safety. I think I bring you one example into your attention, where I think we are trying to describe how keeping a good strategy on identifying this degradation may impact not only the reliability, but other domains. I think there are cross effects. But I'm not just bringing bad news today. I'm trying to bring a good news. And it is that potentially, if we had the right technology in place, we may be able to identify those degradation mechanisms. As long as we understand how the system works, we will be able to identify what do we need to monitor in order to get alerts on time. So we can observe different types of degradation mechanisms. We can collect this data. And basically, what we will do by having that data in our hands will be to identify when can we do a planned downtime. This is what you call preventative or time-based maintenance, right? When you get the symptoms and then you identify the window. But basically, what we're trying to achieve is a window of opportunity where we are not going to jeopardize the process when it comes into a batch. I mean, the worst thing that it can happen is that one of my assets or one of my equipment fails in the middle of a batch, and I need to throw off all that very sensitive in terms of economic value material, and as well as I mentioned, in terms of the patient safety. So by using these technologies, what we can do, we can increase that window of opportunity. But even further, if we need to increase that window of opportunity, we can use other technologies to become much more predictive. So we can even anticipate the apparitions of those symptoms before they happened. On that sense, I would like to bring into your attention one specific use case we developed with one life science company. Basically, the main aim of this initiative was moving from more time-based maintenance into condition or sensor health monitoring for early drift detection. And basically, they used to do this maintenance, as I said, in a time-based. And the issue is that even if we achieve that 40% by using, in this case, advanced analytics, we use machine learning, artificial intelligence, all this kind of stuff for being able to predict the sensor drift. For me, the most relevant aspect of this project has been that as the operators did not have any symptom or any idea what was going on with that sensor while they were doing their own process, they started changing some of the control process parameters because they, based on their own knowledge, they tried to adjust the process to continue the production. So that's a huge impact, or it may have a huge impact on the product quality, and of course in the patient safety. So for me, has been very relevant that it is not only that you are obviously impacting into the reducing this downtime, because you will not calibrate your sensors anymore based on time. You will calibrate them based on their health. But it will as well have a huge impact on the quality and the patient safety. At the end of the day, what you're trying to do is manufacture the right product at the right time, with the right efficiency, and with the right cost. So it's all about these drivers. So the only thing we cannot avoid is the appearance of this degradation, of these issues. I mean, the equipment will fail. That's not something we can work against. The only thing we can really work with is time. That's the only variable that it is in our hands. So I was thinking, okay, how digital technologies may help to increase that time, that window of opportunity for us to be much more predictive or react in a better way. So sorry, because I'm very, maybe, analytics-driven person. So I created 2 clusters, which is basically 2 categories, to identify, based on my experience, which the solutions or technologies we have in our hands today can help to increase that window of opportunity. And identify 2 main things we can do with the time. The first will be, I can use that knowledge to improve the way I make decisions. If I have better information, if I have better data, much more elaborated, I can gain time because I can do better decisions, much more informed decisions. So that's one of the benefits of digitalization, must be giving us more time to understand, digest, and make decisions easily and much more effective decisions. And the other is about, as I have to do the maintenance activity, how can I gain time on that specific activity? How can I do that my people doing the maintenance is much more effective? They do it right first time. They do not spend time doing non-billable activities. So this is the 2 types of categories I try to classify the different technologies we have in our hands. And basically, I come with this set of technologies. Some of them has been already mentioned. Obviously, the first one must be the IT, OT, edge analytics, meaning I need to probably collect additional data. If I have the chance to do analytics on the device itself, because I need that type of, or the speed and the resolution, I can do that type of approach. So, okay, it's good. But then, probably, in order to have a better data catalog and have a better understanding of the complete situation, as I think Alfred showed in the beginning, I will need to do some data contextualization. I need to understand, and I need to accelerate the mechanism to understand what's going on, to gain that time to make a better decision as early as possible. Then, of course, I can use visual analytics to help to speed that process. Many times you will be feeling that you are integrating data from many different data sources, and you need to take a decision. It's not so easy to integrate data from so many different data sources. So if you have the ability to simplify and put specific indicators to make that decision, that will speed up a lot your decision process. Of course, predictive analytics, there has been mentioned different technologies, could be first principles, could be machine learning or artificial intelligence driven. It really depends on the asset, on the complexity of your activity or your asset. And of course, if you have the ability to identify these events early enough, you can use this data to feed your real-time modeling systems, where you can try to find wider spaces to do that maintenance activity. So you will really impact on the uptime and the downtime, because you will just plan where I need to do the maintenance of the asset based on my production needs. On the aspects related to how to gain time in order to be much more effective with the time my people spend doing the activities, I identified several technologies as well. Of course, mobility. I mean, having the data available wherever I am. So not bring the people to the data, but the data to the people. Have the ability to do collaboration. I mean, I can extend and create that network between the subject matter experts I may have on my side or outside my side, which might help me. We discussed before about vibration analysis. We can, of course, automate the operate rounds. That means that we can minimize the time people is spending collecting data manually, and we will just as well impact on the accuracy and the quality of the data we are collecting. We can create automated root cause analysis. If we have enough details on our failure modes, we will be able even to identify which has been the root cause for one specific symptom. If I do that, I will accelerate I will bring to the people to the right point immediately, so they don't need to solve the causes that they have identified as potential causes. They will go to the root cause, and you will eliminate that symptom. Obviously, then you can, if you have that capability, you can as well integrate that into your CMMS or your asset management system to create automated workflows. So you will not introduce manual data. You will automatically trigger work order request on your CMMS systems, and you will, again, gain time for that people, which is so available. And of course, you can use augmented reality, for example, but other type of solutions to support your people doing the activity on the field. That means that they will be much more effective and much more confident, because it's not the same thing if you need to do one activity in front of one equipment and you're just on your own, checking manuals, checking videos. It is not exactly the same if you have one person behind you, supporting you for example, in a call, seeing whatever seeing whatever you're seeing and helping you, guiding you, what do you need to do next. It's much more comfortable for the people doing that. And this is something we discuss in terms of culture change management. This is something that may help to accelerate the adoption and embracement of the people on these technologies, because they will see the value. They will see that this is making my life easier, not just the other way around, which is something sometimes technology is perceived just the other way around. It's a change for everybody. So at the beginning, for you, it will be like, I don't want to use it. I was already happy doing the things I used to do it. So why to change? So as soon as they see the benefits, I'm sure they will like to change. But, and I think that's been, I think Stefan as well highlighted very well this one. There is a risk, right? You can start digitalizing because of the sake of digitalizing. You will start just discussing about technologies because technology is fancy. I mean, if you're techie, you will like technology. So, but it is really important that you identify the right use cases, the right assets, where to apply it. Otherwise, it may happen similarly as we have today with the communication means. We have today many digital communication means. Do you think we are better communicated? I have my doubts if we are very communicated. So it is important to select the right use case, the right asset, and plan accordingly to that need. not just the other way around, not just put technology and let's see how it works and what benefit it brings. So as this is something I've been discussing with the customer, I think when I did my introduction, I think I discussed about this. For me, sometimes this discussion with customers, it's like chicken egg story, right? I'm asking, where do you see the benefits? I mean, where do you see that this technology can help you, or which are the use cases you want to deploy, which are your uses, which are your aspirations? And I think that sometimes the conversation, it's circular because sometimes our customers, they are not really, or maybe we have not been very good communicating. What's the art of the possible? So they say, no, tell me what do you have in your portfolio. Let me know what's the art of the possible, and then we can identify where to put this technology in place. And if you don't do it carefully, as Stefan mentioned, it may end into a failure. That's what we call the pilot projects purgatory, where you do a lot of proof of concepts, a lot of pilots, but you don't really identify the benefits of them. So to avoid that happen, what we try to do is follow a very simple and effective model, in my opinion, which is based on the Plan, Do, Check, Act. So first, we plan. This means we identify, okay, which asset, which equipment do we need to look after? Which one is the most critical for us? And then identify which data do I need to really understand how this asset is working? Which are my failure modes? Once I have done that, I then can start talking about sensors. Which technology do I have to deploy? Wireless, hardwired, edge analytics. Which architecture do I need to deploy? We're talking about cybersecurity. Then another players come into the game as well, because it's not just your niche. It's just in becoming a company or a side thing, right? So when you have decided which sensors, which additional data you need to use, then you can go into the check, which basically we try to set, okay, once you have the data, analyze it and identify if it is providing the value you were expecting. If not, then probably we need to redo again this Plan, Do, Check, Act. Or if you have done it, if you have achieved your goal, maybe you can move into the next maturity state, or we can go to the next action. So how can this be done in a fully digital integrated system? Again, we will start by planning. There is no, at my own knowledge, I'm not any solutions or detailed solutions that may help us on this, but at the end of the day, what we need first to do is do a criticality analysis. We need to identify, as I said, which are the most critical assets on my side. And for your industry, probably the main concern, okay, I understand. Oh. Availability will be a huge concern. You want to keep as much as possible your assets up and running. That's where you paid for mainly, probably. But at the same time, there are other aspects, and Thomas mentioned in the beginning in the initial speech about patient safety. So for me, how to assess that anything will be according to that, and we are assessing that the product is good, the quality of the product is good, and we're not jeopardizing the safety of the product, must be an aspect to consider in that criticality analysis. Maybe that's so. Depending on each case, those are the ways you will be using them to rank. Imagine that we do a ranking for our assets from 0 to 1,000, and then you establish a threshold on 800, and these are the assets you like to start from. Probably you're going to address 25% of your assets or your equipment, and potentially you will be as well addressing the predominant failure modes. When you have done so, then you will need to move into the failure mode detection. And that's important because it will help you to understand what do you need to measure, which data do I need for being able to address that specific failure. I put you an example. If you consider your site as a car, it may have different critical components, but one of the most critical components is the cooling system. But the cooling system itself will not fail. I mean, you may have several aspects that may potentially there will be a reason for that that specific part to failure. For example, corrosion. So at the end of the day, what you need to monitor, indeed, is corrosion as one of the most reasons, or one of the most probable reasons to have a failure on your cooling system. This could be equivalent in your specific sites. So once we have done that analysis and we know which are the process variables I need to monitor, I need to consider, what type of a strategy I need to apply, must be predictive or more traditional could be good enough. We don't need to go for predictive because it's nice. I mean, it needs to be a business case around it. Once we have done, once we have done that, then it's time to do. Do means let's identify which are the right sensors, the right technology, and the right architecture to bring the data into my attention and understand what's going on there. Potentially, and it has been talked in the previous, Alfred mentioned it about in the previous speech, you may need to consider as well other data sources. So now we are a little bit increasing the scope of the issue or problem or need. Let's talk like that. You may need to use other data sources, historical data, DCS, LIM, Laboratory Information Management System, maybe even non-structured data such as images and so on. So that's becoming much more complex on that sense. But there are solutions for that in order to collect data from so many different data sources, create one data model, being able to egress that data into the specific data consumers when you want to do your analytics, visualization, or whatever to do that. There are solutions already for doing that. That's those type of data hubs. And then you go to the check, meaning that, as said, you analyze that data and you try to predict that one issue may happen. And you try to identify, okay, you are trying, again, as I said, you're trying to gain that time to make a better decision and not jeopardizing either the availability, quality, or safety of the product we're manufacturing. And if you're going to go further, and if you say, okay, I'm okay with this predictive analytics, I want to go further. I want to accelerate the decision-making process for my maintenance team. You can go, as discussed before, to a root cause identification, one online root cause identification. And you can create the logics and mechanisms to identify which has been the original cause for one specific symptom. And if you have the predictive capabilities in place, you can even prescribe what action needs to be taken to avoid that failure to happen. I mean, you need to do an action, but you will avoid the failure to happen. And if you have done so, if you have that prescriptive capabilities, then, or not, if you are working on the condition monitoring based, you can immediately create that automated workflow and link that event to one work order request, which will not generate any cost already. You still need to get approval from your manager or for the person which is managing the CMMS system. And once you have done that, then it starts your action in terms of, I need to then start my work permit, identify which is my reliability strategies. And probably there is a room of improvement as well in here on how do you do warehouse management, workflows, but there is a different story. I'm not here to talk about that today. And finally, when you have done all that, you will perform your maintenance. And you will use all these applications, as mentioned before, to accelerate the resolution of that issue. And the most relevant thing is that you will directly send to the people to the right action and at the right time. So for me, that's basically the most important message that I wanted to bring to you. So yeah, I think that has been basically, I think this is how we believe, understand that using this full integrated ecosystem of solutions that I have not mentioned, but for all of them, we have one solution. So I'll be happy to share more ideas with you, more details with you. We are in the booth number 4 downstairs. And well, apologize, David couldn't do it today. We have a scheduling issue. And you have just me today on-prem. So happy to get any question, any comment to the presentation I've just made. Thank you for attending.
No questions from the digital connection.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Oliver again. So you mentioned you have different solutions for different topics. If you are not the only solution provider, and we have other solution providers, there might be many, many other solutions. And this is a bit the struggle where we are looking at when, on the one hand, we want to have a kind of overarching solution for all the technologies. On the other hand, for example, our machine vendors, they also say, well, we don't want to have different solutions from different companies, then we have to. So anything you are doing in this direction?
Yeah, I think we started the same thing. When we started this journey, we started by creating data connectors to our own data sources. And customers were happy. They say, that's fine, that's great. You are able to contextualize all the, let's say, information coming from different nature of data, vibrations, transmitters, any other data source from Emerson into one single asset, so I can understand the health condition of one specific asset. I don't know to go to each other specific property. But that's not sufficient. I have other vendors. So I need to increase, and then we increased the capabilities of our solutions to talk to any vendors. So today I can say we are vendor agnostic on that sense. I mean, we have a specific mechanism to do that, but we become vendor agnostics. Is that answering your question? Okay. Yep, sure.
Hi, I am Mikkel. I'm from Grundfos Holding. Just a question related to that. So you say you are vendor agnostic, but looking into that, are you providing the platform? Are your open APIs then just connecting to others, or would you then be the host of the data?
Yeah, good question. I think it really depends. I have customers that are just willing to have the raw data. So in that sense, we try to open our solutions. I mean, legacy solutions are not so easy in terms of sharing the data, but we are working in that direction. But let's say that the solutions which are much modern are already providing that capability, while other customers are just in the other situation. I mean, they are just willing to deploy their own use cases. So we are keeping them with some type of solutions where we are collecting data from different sources, and we can create that contextualization and then provide that egress of the data to any consumer they may have. Can be their own analytics platform, could be, it's cloud native. So that data catalog, it's available for any analytics solution you may deploy on your own cloud system. It can connect to historians as well. So there are both approaches are possible today. I mean, it really depends on its specific solution, but generally speaking, both are possible.
Great.
Thank you, Sigurd. So
welcome.